secrets they keep. Who knew the South could hold such lore? Wicked tales on every floor. Sweet home Alabama, not so sweet no more. History's a wild one, crime galore. Through the hills and the haunted pines, truth gets twisted in the lines.
Hey y'all, Jamie here, Country Diggers. Welcome to the Speakeasy. Today we'll be going into Wicked North Alabama by Jacquelyn Procter Reeves. And today we will be talking about Mollie Teal, Huntsville's famous madam. So stay tuned. Okay. Whatever you do, do it the best you can. Our elders tell us. For no matter what you choose to do in life, there is no shame in a job well done. Those words carry the unspoken assumption that we will choose to do something legal, better yet, honorable. And our great works will in some way help or inspire mankind. But sometimes life happens to us, and circumstances direct us onto a different path. Perhaps that was the case for Mollie Teal, Huntsville's most well-known madam. Mollie Teal's life before Huntsville is as mysterious as her death. Some sources indicate that she spent time in Tennessee. Others say Montgomery. She was born less than a decade before the start of the Civil War, and perhaps in the dark and desperate years after the war, she turned to the one profession in which she knew she could make a living. Whatever the feelings about her at the time, history has remembered her for her benevolence to the city that she eventually called home. Mollie Teal was, among other things, a successful and shrewd businesswoman. Most of her girls were young transients who perhaps turned to prostitution as a last resort. Mollie took care of them, had them examined by doctors on a regular basis, and dressed them well. At any given time, she employed about 15 to 20 girls. They stayed at Mollie's establishment for only a short time, usually weeks or months before moving on. Though they were much appreciated by the men in town, they were not allowed to sit down or eat ice cream in the local drugstore. And if they went to the Elks Theater to see a show on stage, they were required to enter through an alley and sit in special seats, reserved just for them. More than one of Mollie's beautiful girls married into prominent Huntsville families, causing much social embarrassment when they encountered other prominent former customers in the parlors of proper folks' homes. It wasn't long before Mollie was able to buy a large house from Oscar Hudley, listed in the city directory as a capitalist, for $300 cash. It was a large house on the corner of present-day Gatlin and St. Clair Streets. Mollie took out bank loans from time to time to update and remodel the home, but it never took her long to repay the loans in full. Unlike most homes in town, Miss Mollie's had an indoor bathroom. Mollie invested money in her hometown. On June 9th, 1892, she bought a share of stock in the Dallas Mill, and a few days later she bought another. She was known to donate money when it went towards a good cause. And why not? Fleeting as the moment was, it may have been the only time she got respect. The fees in Mollie's establishment were easy to remember. It was a standard $2 for every throw and $10 per night. Coca-Colas were served for 25 cents, though they were a nickel everywhere else in town. Home brew could be had as well. On one particular July 4th, Mollie and her girls went into town dressed in white. Matching black horses and white harnesses pulled the Victorian carriage as the dapper driver, dressed in a white suit, guided the vehicle around town for a little advertising. When they entered their carriage into the July 4th float contest, jealous wives informed their husbands that if Madam Mollie won first prize due to their vote, they need not come home that night. Someone else was declared the winner. Several times every year, Mollie's sporting house was raided by the police. The community was happy. Police collected fees. The girls were examined by local doctors, and then it was back to business as usual. But one night there was a fire at Mollie's house, and after the volunteer firefighters quickly extinguished the blaze, they were invited to rest a little while and perhaps enjoy the appreciation of Mollie and her beautiful girls. Of course, that turned out to be one of the nights the police decided to raid the bawdy house, and all of the firefighters were arrested. So you firefighters better watch it. In protest, they resigned from the volunteer fire department, leaving much of the city unprotected. Charges were dropped, apologies were exchanged and accepted, and the city was safe from fire once again. In 1899, at the age of 47, Mollie Teal died. Some historians believe her death was the result of a chronic case of venereal disease, which could have been. Perhaps she was aware of her impending death as well. Her last will and testament was written and signed on July 31st, 1898. Mollie would not be forgotten anytime soon. Her will included instructions that her house be left for a friend, Mollie Greenleaf, during her life. Upon Miss Greenleaf's death, it would go to the city of Huntsville for the use and benefit of the white public schools or for a city hospital as the city authorities may elect. Her assets would be liquidated and money would be used to buy books for a library or some other use in the public schools. Shortly after her death, however, a claim for her estate was entered into someone named John Smith, allegedly an heir, and others who were not identified. After several rulings, the terms of her will were upheld, with the exception of 2 bank accounts that were not specified in her list of assets. The money in those accounts went to John Smith and others. Miss Greenleaf lived only a few years. Upon her death, the building was remodeled and opened as an infirmary. Those who worked in the infirmary remembered that at times the screen door would seem to close by itself and hook. They laughed and joked that Mollie was there to make sure everyone behaved properly. Whatever the case, Mollie's legacy led to the establishment of one of the finest medical facilities in the state of Alabama. ensuring that she would not be forgotten. For many years, a large portrait of Mollie displayed in the lobby. Today, no one knows where that portrait is. The home eventually burned. In the meantime, she was buried next to her mother, Mary Smith, who died when Mollie was only 19. Yet another mystery persists. Every 2 weeks or so, someone would bring flowers to Mollie's grave. A PVC pipe cut to about 6 inches was installed next to her headstone as a makeshift flower vase. The mystery was, for the most part, unnoticed by the residents of Huntsville, except to a few. For reasons unknown, the flowers stopped appearing at Mollie's grave in the fall of 2007, 108 years after her death. Well, that was pretty good. A madam with a big heart. All right.